Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we really try to get under the skin of complex topics,
Yeah.
using the sources you send us, and, well, hopefully give you something useful to take away.
And today, I think we've got something potentially game-changing for, well, pretty much everyone. It's about communication friction.
The source of all evil, practically.
Ha, could be. We're looking at a behavioral system aimed at smoothing out those bumps, understanding why people act the way they do. Our listener wants to get past that initial reaction, that the other person is just difficult. Or, let's be honest, sometimes the word idiot comes to mind.
Right. We've all been there. So the mission today is really about shifting that perspective, moving away from labeling people who annoy us as, well, idiots, and instead figuring out, okay, how do they operate? How can I adjust to communicate better with them?
Exactly. Because here's the fundamental truth, and it can be a tough pill to swallow sometimes. Communication always happens on the listener's terms. Always. Meaning, your message, no matter how clear you think it is, gets filtered through their personal lens. Their biases, their mood, their past experiences, their expectations, all of it. If you don't account for that filter, you're just talking into the void. Success demands flexibility.
Okay, so we need to adapt. And this whole idea, this system we're looking at, it actually grew out of a pretty stark example of someone not adapting, didn't it? The idiot origin story.
It did. It centers around this guy, sure. A successful business owner, 60s, self-made, but utterly convinced he was, and this was his phrase, surrounded by idiots.
He meant his own staff.
His own staff. Departments A, B, C. He genuinely believed they were all populated by people who just refused to think or act logically, which of course meant they didn't think or act exactly like him.
That sounds stressful for everyone involved.
Oh, incredibly. His frustration wasn't subtle. He let it show. And the result? His employees just started avoiding him completely.
They stopped bringing problems to him.
Yep.
Because they knew the reaction wouldn't be helpful, just angry. And it got so bad, get this, at one of his offices, they actually installed a warning light, like a physical light bulb system.
Oh, wait. What did it do?
It was wired up above the reception desk. Red light meant Stur was in the building and working. Green light meant the coast was clear.
You're kidding. So staff, even clients.
Even clients who were in the know. They'd check the light before deciding whether to walk into the main area or try to make contact. It was institutionalized avoidance.
Wow. That just shows the massive cost of that kind of rigid thinking, doesn't it? His definition of an idiot was just someone different.
Precisely. And that's why the framework that emerged from the decisive four-color model we're digging into, red, yellow, green, blue, is presented not as a way to label people as idiots, but as a tool for understanding those differences and adapting. Classification, not judgment.
Okay, so ditch the judgment, embrace the analysis. Where does this framework actually come from? Is it some modern corporate fad?
Not at all, actually. That's what's fascinating. The core ideas are ancient. People have been observing these fundamental behavioral patterns for millennia.
Right, I remember seeing that in the source material. It connects back, doesn't it?
It does. The modern DISC model that's dominance, inducement or inspiration, submission, and analytic ability or compliance owes a lot to William Moulton Marston's work back in the 1920s. And companies like TTI Success Insights build on that foundation today.
But Marston wasn't starting from scratch.
No, he was tapping into something much older. Go back 2,000 years to Hippocrates and his four humors. It lines up almost perfectly.
Okay, let's see. Red, the dominant, fiery type. That's the...
Choleric, linked to yellow bile, hot, reactive, driven.
Right. And yellow, the sociable, optimistic one.
Sanguine, linked to blood. Warm, lively, enthusiastic.
Makes sense. Green, the steady, easygoing type.
Phlegmatic, linked to phlegm or mucus. Calm, cool, collected, prioritizes stability.
And blue, the analytical, reserved one.
Melancholic, linked to black bile. Deep thinking, careful planning, sometimes seen as serious or pessimistic.
It's uncanny how well they map.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the Greeks, right? Other cultures saw similar patterns.
Absolutely. The Aztecs, for example, used the four elements. Fire for the leader, the red. Air for the inspiring influencer, the yellow. Earth for the stable, reliable green. And water for the quiet, deep blue. Still waters run deep. And that pressure can be immense.
So these aren't just random categories. They seem to represent fundamental aspects of human behavior that people have recognized across cultures and time.
Exactly. It suggests these are pretty ingrained patterns.
Okay, but the source also mentions that behavior isn't just personality. There's that equation, behavior F PASF, personality and surrounding factors.
Right. Your behavior in any given moment isn't just your core personality, the P. It's also influenced by the situation you're in, the SF, the surrounding factors. Think about it, you act differently at a funeral than you do at a party, right? Hopefully. So our core personality gets shaped early on, heredity, environment, the values we pick up. But then there's this crucial difference between our core behavior and our moderated behavior.
Okay, break that down. Core behavior is?
Core behavior is the real you. Who you are when you're completely comfortable, no pressure, no need to impress anyone. When you're alone, maybe? The source cheekily says it's who you are when you're asleep. It's your default setting.
Got it. And moderated behavior?
That's the mask. Or masks, plural, usually. It's how we adjust our behavior to fit in or meet the expectations of a specific situation. You might put on a more serious analytical mask at work if your job demands it.
Than a more outgoing one at a social event.
Exactly. Maybe a more patient one when visiting your in-laws. Who knows? The point is, we adapt. But the danger, for you, the listener, is that people often judge you based on the mask they see. And you do the same to others. You react to their moderated behavior, not necessarily their core self.
Okay. So understanding these colors helps us see past the mask. You get a glimpse of the core person underneath.
That's the idea. It helps decode the behavior, whether it's core or moderated, and respond more effectively.
Right, let's get into the colors themselves then. This feels like the heart of it, understanding the actual traits and, importantly, the strengths of each type. Because we need to see the positive before we get to the friction points. Let's start with red, fire, dominance, choleric. What's their deal?
Speed, results, urgency. Reds are quick, they're competitive, they have incredibly high energy, and they are absolutely focused on the bottom line.
Time is money, basically.
Literally. They hate sluggishness, they hate inefficiency. To a red, if something isn't done quickly, it's probably not done well. Slow equals bad in their book. They thrive on challenge and pressure.
And their goals reflect that. They aim high.
Beyond high, often. Their ambition can seem completely over the top to other colors. The source has that great line. A realistic budget, for a red, is a budget designed by cowards. They don't just want to succeed, they want to dominate. Win.
Does that competitiveness spill over into everything?
Oh, absolutely. The anecdote about the CEO playing soccer at the company picnic, he played like it was the World Cup final because it was called a tournament. The concept of playing just for fun was alien. If there's a potential win, they compete. Hard.
Even if it's just reading a book.
Even reading a book. Racing through it, 100 pages an hour, turning comprehension into a speed trial.
Yeah.
Or Bjorn, the entrepreneur on the phone, super efficient. The second he knew the caller wasn't who he needed to talk to, boom. Conversation over. No niceties, just done. Next task.
Efficient, but maybe a bit abrupt.
Definitely can be perceived that way. And their approach to rules, it's fascinating. Rules are often seen as, well, suggestions or obstacles to be overcome for the sake of efficiency.
Like the bus lane driver.
Exactly. Paying the fine month after month to drive in the bus lane for 20 miles wasn't about breaking the law for fun. It was a calculated decision. The fine was just the cost of achieving superior speed. Speed limits. Recommendations.
Yeah.
The goal is the goal.
Okay, driven, competitive, fast. Got it. Let's switch gears. Yellow. Inspiration, air, sanguine. What's their core?
Optimism, sociability, persuasion, creativity. Yellows are all about relationships, connection, and positive energy. They're the life of the party, often literally.
Uncontrollable optimism, the source called it.
Yes, sometimes to an extent that can almost be baffling to others. They will find the silver lining in a hurricane. They bounce back incredibly quickly from setbacks.
And they're good at getting others excited.
Phenomenally good. Marianne, the sales director example her team, hit impossible targets not because of her detailed plans, but because she inspired them. She made them believe. Yellows are often amazing communicators, great storytellers using vivid language, masters of rhetoric.
They like new things, right? Shiny object.
Totally. They are the ultimate early adopters. Always chasing the next exciting idea, the latest trend. Their minds move incredibly fast, often jumping from one brilliant concept to the next before the first one is even fleshed out. Like Robin, the DIY guy, designing 5 versions of a remodel on the fly.
So, lots of ideas, maybe less follow-through sometimes.
That can be the challenge. But their resilience is amazing. Mike, the friend with the constant mishaps, crashes his old Alpha, driver's door jams. What does he do?
Climbs out the passenger side, shrugs it off.
Exactly. Can't stay mad, can't dwell on the negative. It's just not in their nature. And that charisma, like the Bill Clinton example, it's often genuine. They have this knack for making you feel like the most important person in the room when they talk to you. They feed off that connection.
Yeah, okay. Optimistic, social, inspiring. Now, green, submission, earth, phlegmatic.
Sure.
What's their defining characteristic?
Stability, balance, harmony. Greens are actually the most common behavioral type. They're easygoing, patient, reliable, and their absolute top priority is avoiding conflict and keeping things smooth. They hate offending people.
So they're kind of the glue in a team.
Very much so. They're brilliant stabilizers. They can calm down an overexcited yellow or red, and they can bring a bit of warmth and connection to a more reserved blue. They're the steady hand.
And reliable is a key word.
Hugely reliable. They're the Maja who remembers everyone's birthday without needing a reminder. They're the Lhasa who just shows up to help you move, tools in hand, asking for nothing. They are genuinely kind and thoughtful people.
And good listeners, too, unlike maybe the yellows who are waiting to talk.
Excellent listeners.
Yeah.
Because they're processing for relational harmony and potential friction points, they really absorb what you say. They want to understand how you feel.
But that avoidance of conflict, that must have a downside.
Oh, absolutely. It makes direct communication incredibly hard for them. Asking for something directly, terrifying. They don't want to be a bother. Christopher's story is classic green.
The guy locked out in the cold.
Yeah. Freezing Sunday morning, T-shirt, miles from home, locked out of the office, calls the author, and chats about the boiler for 15 minutes, asks how far away the author lives, all before, finally, almost accidentally, mentioning he might need a little help. They will tie themselves in knots to avoid asking directly.
That's wild. But that empathy, that listening skill, can be a strength too, like with Helena the seller.
Exactly. She won over that impossible executive not by pushing her product, but by just listening, letting him talk about his vintage car for 20 minutes. She built rapport through quiet empathy, not aggressive selling. She became a safe harbor.
Okay, stable, reliable, conflict averse. Last one. Blue. Analyticability. Water. Melancholic. The details people.
The details people, absolutely. Blues are reserved, analytical, logical, and deeply driven by the pursuit of quality and accuracy. Perfection isn't just a goal. It's often the only acceptable standard.
If it's worth doing right.
Precisely. They are the realists, sometimes bordering on pessimists, because their first instinct is to spot the flaws, the risks, the potential problems that everyone else glosses over.
They're prepared.
Always prepared. They're the friend who doesn't just know who won the Super Bowl, but can tell you the coin toss stats for the last 50 years. Tails 27, heads 24, that level of detail. They operate on logic and facts.
And this applies personally too. Like the engineer dad selling his house.
Yes. He felt morally obligated to start every viewing by pointing out every single crack, leak, and potential issue. Couldn't bear the thought of someone buying it without full disclosure, even if it hurt the sale. Honesty and accuracy above all.
Preparation is key for them then.
It's their comfort zone. The IKEA example is perfect. A blue doesn't just glance at the instructions. They read them through. Twice. Then they lay out all the parts, wipe them down, count every single screw, and compare it to the inventory list. Then they begin assembly. Process is paramount.
And the patio gravel story, that was something else.
Oh, classic blue behavior. Measuring the gravel mound to ensure it was between 8.75 and 9.25 cubic meters. Then meticulously enforcing the 1 centimeter per meter slope for drainage. Why?
Because it says so in the book.
Exactly. The manual, the procedure, the established correct way, that's their guide. And interestingly, despite often having deep expertise, they tend to be very modest. They'll downplay their knowledge, saying they're just doing their job. They won't cut corners, won't skip the fine print, ever. For a blue, the process is the point.
Okay, so we have these 4 distinct colors, each with clear strengths. Reds drive results, yellows inspire, greens stabilize, and blues ensure quality. But now, the tricky part, where does the friction come in? Because obviously these strengths don't always feel like strengths to others.
Exactly. This is where understanding becomes crucial for adapting, because every single one of these strengths, if it's unchecked, overused, or applied in the wrong context, becomes a major weakness, a source of conflict.
Right. It's not malice, it's just too much of a good thing, maybe, or the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Precisely. We're seeing their core driver clashing with our needs or expectations. So let's tackle the red challenge first. Their drive becomes what?
Impatience.
Yes.
Insensitivity.
Yes. Belligerence, even. Rudeness. controlling behavior. They can seem incredibly egotistical because their focus is so internal. I need this. I want this done now. They steamroll conversations, ignore rules that slow them down.
Now, they seem to lack empathy.
It's more that they deprioritize relational concerns when a task is on the line. Results trump feelings, almost always. So the big question, how do you actually get through to someone operating at that speed and intensity without getting flattened?
Yeah, that's the strategy.
First rule, be quick and direct, no beating around the bush, no small talk about the weather, get straight to the point. If it's about financials, give them the bottom line first, then the supporting details if they ask. Wasting their time is the cardinal sin.
Okay, cut the fluff. But what if they immediately push back?
Yeah.
Hard, which they probably will.
They probably will. And this is critical. You have to be determined. Reds despise indecision. Phrases like, well, I was kind of thinking, or maybe we could possibly forget it. They'll dismiss you instantly.
Yep.
State your case clearly, confidently, expect aggressive pushback. It's often just how they test ideas in people. And crucially,
Don't back down.
do not back down. The source is emphatic about this. If you waver or retreat under pressure, they see it as proof that your idea was weak and theirs was right. They lose respect. You have to hold your ground calmly but firmly. They actually respect strength, even if it leads to conflict initially.
Wow, okay, so stand firm. But what about their sheer speed? They make decisions so fast, sometimes they're just wrong. How do you get them to pause?
You can't appeal to feelings or caution in the abstract. You have to push back on haste using their own logic. Efficiency. You need concrete proof that slowing down will actually save time or resources in the long run.
So give them data.
Exactly. Remember last quarter when we rushed that decision? It took us 3 days and $5,000 to fix the mess. If we spend an extra hour analyzing this now, we avoid that risk. It's the faster way overall. You have to frame deliberation as the truly efficient path. Beat speed with smarter speed.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Use their own values. Right, let's move to the yellow challenge. The boundless enthusiasm becomes wide. Chaos.
Often, yes. Disorganization, superficiality. They're poor listeners because they're already leaping to their next idea. They're terrible with time, genuinely believing they were only 5 minutes late when it was 45. And that need for the spotlight means they can totally dominate conversations. The source mentions up to 69% of talk time.
Yikes. And they don't handle criticism well, do they? Because their ego is tied to being liked.
Very sensitive to criticism. Their core driver is inspiration and connection, so anything that implies they're failing at that or that people don't admire their ideas hits hard. They also get bored easily, especially with details and follow-through.
So if you need a yellow Terry to, say, stick to a plan or take some constructive feedback, how do you even begin?
Carefully. You absolutely must use flattery and protect their ego. Never attack their creativity or intelligence. Start with praise. Your energy on this is amazing. This core idea is brilliant. Then frame the needed change in terms of enhancing their success or popularity. To make sure everyone sees how great this is, we just need a clear, written plan so nothing falls through the cracks. It'll make you look even better. You're appealing to their desire for admiration to get them to accept structure.
Clever. But what about just remembering things? Their follow-through isn't always reliable.
You absolutely cannot rely on their memory. You have to be concrete and insist on writing things down. Summarize agreements in an email immediately after talking. And this is key. Ask them to repeat the agreement back to you. Okay, just so we're both clear, what are the 2 main things you're going to tackle first?
Yet it forces them to engage with the specifics.
Okay, get it in writing, make them repeat it. And the timekeeping, the chronic lateness. How do you manage that without constantly being frustrated?
You need firm boundaries, sometimes with dramatic consequences. Synchronize watches before a meeting. Maybe even tell them the meeting starts 30 minutes earlier than it actually does if it's critical.
The yellow buffer. Exactly. But sometimes you need to leverage their aversion to upsetting people. You might have to say directly but calmly, look, when you're consistently late, it makes me feel disrespected. And honestly, it puts a strain on our friendship. That potential for relationship damage, for rejection, is a powerful motivator for a yellow.
Okay, appeal to the relationship. Got it. Now, the green challenge, the peacemakers, their strength becomes what? Stubbornness.
Passive resistance, definitely. A deep, often silent stubbornness, especially against change. They fear conflict so much they internalize everything, leading to that beer barrel effect we'll talk about later, holding on to resentment for years. And they can expend enormous energy avoiding a task or difficult conversation, often more than it would take to just do it.
And if you criticize them, they take it really hard.
Devastatingly hard. They often turn the criticism inward and just beat themselves up relentlessly. I'm so useless. I always mess things up. So, the absolute #1 rule when giving feedback or needing change from a green is prioritize the relationship and offer constant reassurance.
How does that sound in practice?
You have to sandwich any critique with warmth. You are such a valuable part of this team, and I really appreciate you. There's just one small thing about this process I think we could tweak, and follow up with more reassurance. This doesn't change how much I value your contribution. It has to feel safe for them.
Okay, safety first. And since logic or efficiency doesn't motivate them as much as relationships do.
You have to use relational language to influence them. Don't talk about tasks. Talk about feelings specifically, your feelings. Instead of, you missed the deadline, try, when the deadline was missed, I felt really worried and stressed because it impacts the whole team. Framing it on the emotional impact on others is far more effective because Greens hate causing distress.
Makes sense. And tackling their resistance to change. Sounds like you need a lot of patience.
Oceans of patience. You have to force clarity and break change down into tiny, manageable steps. Announce a big change, and they'll freeze or silently resist. You need small, incremental adjustments. And crucially, you must confirm understanding constantly. Ask them to explain the problem back to you. What do you understand the issue to be? Because they'll often nod politely, even if they totally disagree or haven't grasped it, just to avoid conflict. You have to gently force the issue into the open.
Okay, small steps, relational language, constant reassurance. Finally, the blue challenge. The analysts.
Their strength becomes paralysis.
Analysis paralysis is the big one. They get so caught up in needing all the data, 100% certainty, that they struggle to make decisions. They can also come across as cold, distant, or overly critical because they bypass small talk and immediately focus on facts, flaws, and logic.
They're not trying to be difficult. They're just wired for precision.
Exactly. Pointing out flaws isn't negativity to them. It's quality control. It's ensuring things are right. So if you need to persuade a blue or get their buy-in on something,
Prepare for an interrogation. Pretty much. You must be absolutely meticulous. Bring data. Bring documentation. Bring spreadsheets. And even then, expect them to ask for more. Remember the CEO asking for more material after getting 85 pages? That's blue. You can never be too prepared.
so trying to inspire them with a grand vision is a bad idea.
A terrible idea. Stick strictly to logic. Skip the emotional speeches. Blues distrust, hype, optimism, and anything that sounds vague or unproven. Standing on a mountaintop talking about a glorious future means nothing. Show them the detailed project plan, the risk assessment, the supporting evidence in an Excel file. That's their language.
But what if you need a decision and they're stuck waiting for that last 0.1% of data that might never come? How do you nudge them forward?
You have to use their own logic against their perfectionism. You need to provide facts and alternatives that frame making the decision now as the most logical option. You demonstrate, with data if possible, that the cost of delaying the decision, in terms of missed opportunity, resources spent waiting, etc., is actually greater than the risk associated with acting on 95% certainty. You prove that waiting is, ironically, the illogical, inefficient choice you have to make deciding the rational path.
Wow. Okay, so you really have to tailor the approach for each color. It's not one size fits all.
Not even close. And this becomes even clearer when you look at how these colors interact in groups.
Right. The source talked about an experiment, putting people the same color together on a team task.
Yes, at a telecom company. A fascinating, maybe slightly questionable experiment. He created teams composed purely of reds, yellows, greens, or blues and gave them all the same complex problem to solve under time pressure. The results were illuminating.
Let's hear it. What happened with the all-red team?
Pure speed in action. They finished fastest, stormed back in, declared victory. But they'd solved the wrong problem entirely. They jumped straight to execution without properly analyzing the task. All gas, no steering wheel.
Okay. The all-yellow team.
They had a fantastic time. Lots of energy, brilliant brainstorming, creative ideas flying everywhere. Their presentation was incredibly entertaining, charismatic, but they hadn't actually solved the problem at all. All sizzle, no steak.
Predictable? Maybe. What about the all-green team?
Total paralysis. They spent most of the time politely negotiating who should lead, ensuring everyone felt included, worrying about getting it wrong. When time was up, they presented a united front, nodding grimly that yes, they'd done it, but it was clear they hadn't really accomplished the task. They couldn't handle the pressure or potential conflict of making decisions.
Yikes. And the all-blue team. Let me guess.
Yeah,
They needed more time.
you guessed it. They marched up, very orderly, probably alphabetically. Started by meticulously pointing out the grammatical errors in the instruction sheet they were given.
Of course they did.
Then they outlined their proposed methodology, explained why they needed significantly more data and several more weeks for proper analysis, and politely refused to offer a premature solution based on incomplete information. All accuracy, no decision.
So the takeaway is pretty clear. Homogeneity is bad.
For complex problem solving, yes. It's disastrous. You need the mix. You need the red to push for action, the yellow to generate ideas and enthusiasm, the green to ensure cohesion and consider the people involved, and the blue to check the details and keep it grounded in reality. Diversity isn't just nice, it's necessary.
And the source talks about natural pairings versus complementary pairing.
Right. Natural pairings are people who operate similarly. Blue and green are both more introverted, thoughtful, detail-oriented. Red and yellow are both more extroverted, faster-paced, action-oriented. They often get along easily because they understand each other's energy.
But the effective pairings in a work context are often the complementary ones.
Often, yes. Think red and blue, the accelerator and the brake. Both are highly task-focused. Red drives it forward. Blue ensures it doesn't crash and burn due to overlooked details. Very powerful for execution.
And the other one, yellow and green.
That's the relationship axis. The talker, yellow, and the listener, green. Yellow brings the energy, enthusiasm, and big-picture vision. Green provides the stability, listens to concerns, and focuses on maintaining harmony and individual well-being within the team. They balance each other emotionally.
It really highlights the need for different perspectives. Okay, another really vivid concept was the way different colors handle stress. The drinking glass analogy.
Yes, this one really resonates. It's about capacity for stress and how it gets released.
Let's start with red again, the shot glass.
Exactly. Small capacity fills up incredibly fast, empties just as fast. A red gets furious over a traffic jam, a stupid mistake, inefficiency. They explode. Intense anger, maybe shouting, for like 90 seconds.
Right, and then.
And then it's gone. Completely forgotten, they've moved on. But everyone else around them is left bewildered, maybe a bit shaken, thinking there's this huge ongoing conflict. When for the red, the pressure released instantly, and it's over.
Right. Quick fuse, quick recovery. What about yellow, the tumbler?
Bigger capacity, fills more slowly, maybe through sustained boredom, rejection, or feeling ignored. But when it spills, it's messy. It goes everywhere.
How so?
Their reaction tends to be dramatic, maybe unfocused anger or upset, spreading negativity around. It's less a targeted explosion, more a chaotic overflow that can damage multiple things at once. But like the red, they usually can't sustain that high intensity for too long. They burn bright and fast.
Okay. Then the one that sounds most concerning, green. The beer barrel.
This is the one to watch out for. Huge capacity. Greens internalize stress, frustration, slights, everything they didn't speak up about to avoid conflict. It builds and builds, sometimes for years.
Like a pressure cooker.
Exactly. And when that barrel finally bursts, maybe triggered by one final straw, it's not a small explosion, it's a flood. Everything comes out. Years of stored resentment, every single past grievance. The outburst can seem completely out of proportion to the trigger, and it can be utterly devastating to their relationships. It's often a point of no return.
That's quite a warning about the cost of avoiding conflict.
It really is. It's not just inefficient. It can be psychologically damaging in the long run.
Okay, finally, blue. The barrel with a leaky tap. Sounds healthier.
In a way, yes. It's a self-regulating mechanism. Blues have a high capacity for detail and analysis, which can be stressful, but they tend to release that pressure constantly in small drips through low-level complaining, nitpicking, correcting errors, pointing out flaws, sighing about inefficiency. It's that constant, quiet grumbling or critique. It might be annoying to others, but it prevents the pressure from building to catastrophic levels. It's their way of managing stress proactively.
So different pressures, different release valves. To wrap this section up, let's just quickly list the main stress triggers for each color, kind of a quick reference guide.
Good idea. For reds, it's routine, boredom, lack of control or authority, inefficiency, and especially not seeing clear, quick results.
Makes sense. For yellows,
Loneliness, isolation, boredom, especially with details or repetitive tasks, feeling rejected or criticized, and negative feedback that punctures their optimism.
okay.
Conflict is number one. Also, sudden or poorly explained change, high pressure, a fast pace they can't keep up with, and feeling responsible for mistakes, even small ones.
And finally, blues.
Spontaneity and unpredictability, lack of preparation time, ambiguity or insufficient data, dealing with overly emotional or illogical people, and anything that compromises quality or accuracy.
That's a really useful summary. Okay, we've covered a huge amount here. The types, their strengths, their weaknesses, how to adapt, how they interact, how they handle stress.
It's a lot to take in, but hopefully it provides a practical lens.
Definitely. And I think the key takeaway, as you said earlier, isn't about fundamentally changing who you are. It's not about becoming some kind of behavioral chameleon trying to be red one minute and blue the next.
No, that would be exhausting and inauthentic.
Right. It's about self-awareness, first knowing your own tendencies, and then using that awareness to be more flexible in how you interact with others. Understanding their likely color gives you clues on how to adjust your communication style to actually connect, rather than just clash.
Exactly. It comes back to that core lesson from Stur's story. The people around us who seem like idiots aren't usually stupid or malicious. They're just different. They operate on a different frequency.
They have different drivers, different fears, different ways of processing the world.
Precisely. And if we can recognize their color, respect their way of functioning, and adapt our approach slightly, maybe be more direct with a red, more reassuring with a green, more data-driven with a blue, more enthusiastic with a yellow, we can build much stronger, less frustrating relationships. It's about meeting them where they are.
That feels like the most powerful communication strategy there is, really.
Yeah,
Understanding before seeking to be understood.
couldn't agree more.
So that leads us to our final thought for you, the listener, something to chew on. It comes from that intriguing little observation in the source material about what happens when people drink alcohol at, say, a company party.
Ah, yes, the personality inversion.
Right. The normally cheerful, optimistic yellows suddenly became these deep, philosophical pessimists for the night, brooding in corners.
While, conversely, the super reserved, meticulous, data-driven blue credit manager found dancing on the tables, telling off-color jokes completely uninhibited. The mask didn't just slip, it inverted.
It's fascinating. So the provocative thought is this. If extreme circumstances, like maybe loosening inhibitions with alcohol, can sometimes reveal the polar opposite of our usual moderated behavior, what might that say about us?
What hidden or suppressed color traits might be lurking underneath your usual mask? Traits that only surface under intense pressure or maybe intense relaxation.
Could that aggressive red exterior hide a sensitive green core? Could the quiet analytical blue secretly yearn for the yellow's chaotic freedom of expression?
It's worth considering. The next time you find your own mask slipping, whether due to stress or maybe just letting go, pay attention. What emerges? Is it just an exaggeration of your usual self, or is it something different?
Understanding that hidden side might just be another key to unlocking your own potential, or at least understanding your own complexities a bit better. Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought.
Well, that was quite the deep dive. Thank you for guiding us through that.
My pleasure. It's powerful stuff.
Indeed it is. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Until next time.